Greetings, fellow detectives. Wizard Kitten 774 here, bringing you my review of the ninth mystery in the Nancy Drew series, Danger on Deception Island. As usual, my reviews are based off of 5 different categories, those categories being plot, characters, setting and design, entertainment and gameplay value, and music and vibe. Each of those categories is scored on a scale of 1 to 10, and then all those scores are added up for a total possible score of 50, and then each game is assigned a letter grade as well. So without further ado, let's get started with our review of the plot of Danger on Deception Island. So I'm a fan of the plot of this game. It's really quite a good one. So Nancy is attempting to go on vacation. She's going to meet George's friend Katie Firestone in Washington State in a place called Snake Horse Harbor. So it's right on the coast of Washington State. Nancy basically just wants a vacation because she's been busy solving mysteries. She's had a couple of intense ones lately, and she just wants to go and relax. But the second that she gets there, Katie meets Nancy, and then the two of them walk down to Katie's boat. Katie's a marine biologist, so she has this boat that she works off of. And they find out that Katie's boat has just been vandalized. And Katie thinks that it might be because of a town meeting that she attended the previous night where they talked about a lone orca whale who has been found in the channel in the Snake Horse Harbor area without a pod, and kind of the controversy that whale has brought up. So Nancy takes it upon herself to kind of figure out why Katie's boat got vandalized, who did it, and in the course of things, she kind of uncovers a deeper mystery. There's more than just the boat vandalization. There's some thefts that have been going on the island, some robberies that we hear about, so Nancy gets curious about those. She's curious about the tension that she feels between all of the characters. So there's quite a few different little elements that kind of come together to create this plot. It's really interesting, and I think they do a really nice job of tying everything together. It doesn't seem as cohesive as other plots to me, simply because Nancy is finding little snippets along the way, and it's not until the very end that they all kind of piece together. I think it's that's kind of a cool concept, and I do like that all of the pieces do eventually come together. Like you find out about these thefts at some stores in the area, and at first they seem completely random, but you do eventually figure out how everything else that Nancy is doing connects to the bigger plot. And another example, she finds this piece of driftwood that comes up on the beach, and there's a little bit of a storyline with that, and at first it seems like it's not even related to what Nancy's trying to do, which is figure out who vandalized Katie's boat, and Bess and George actually call Nancy out on that. They're like, hey, shouldn't you be focusing on something more important? But that eventually does come together as well. So I do like that they tie things in nicely. It's kind of a plot sequence that we haven't seen as often in the Nancy Drew series. It doesn't unfold kind of in a logical sequence. Nancy picks up things here and there, and then they all come together at the end. But the fact that they do come all together kind of redeems that plot for me. It makes it really interesting and fun to replay because you get all those snippets, and then you know how they all come together, and you start to notice things that maybe you didn't notice before. So overall, I think it's a really great plot. I really enjoy the storyline that Nancy follows during her day at Snake Horse Harbor. That might be another issue I have with the plot, is that it does take course over one day only, which seems a little bit quick for me, but overall it's really quite a strong plot. So I give Danger on Deception Island a 9 out of 10 in this category. So let's move on to characters. I always have to think about this. There are 4 characters, yep. So first we have Katie Firestone, who is the marine biologist that Nancy is visiting, a friend of George's that George set up the vacation for Nancy to go see. And each of the characters too has an opinion on this orca whale that's been in the area. Katie thinks that it should be transported to kind of a a research facility, I suppose, to try and help the animal. And if the orca is sick, then she wants to keep the animal, then she wants to keep the orca at the facility. So that's kind of Katie Firestone. And then we have Holt Scotto, who is a fisherman in Snake Horse Harbor. He's lived there his entire life. He is currently running for harbor master, which I guess is like sort of like a mayor for the town. Because he's fed up with the environmentalists, as he says. So he is not a fan of Katie. He and Katie do not get along at all. Then we have Jenna Devlin, who is the owner of the... Oh, I'm gonna butcher the name. It's called the Royal Flush Saloon at one point in the game. The Hot Kettle Cafe. There we go. The Hot Kettle Cafe is the current name of the restaurant that Jenna owns. She is famous for her clam chowder and her blueberry muffins. She's a very good cook. She's also lived in Snake Horse Harbor her whole life and is not a fan of Katie. She basically just wants the orca whale to be left alone. So that's kind of Jenna. And then we have Andy Jason, who is the owner of Whale World, which is kind of a museum that is totally focused on whales and then orca whales. He does whale watching tours in Snake Horse Harbor. So he has this whole business that involves the museum and then his whale watching business. And Katie also does whale watching tours, so there's a little bit of tension between him and Katie because he doesn't want her to steal any of his customers. So overall, it's a really nice cast of characters. I really like that there's tension between all of the characters because it makes the interactions with them a lot more interesting. They kind of get on each other's nerves and they let Nancy know that. I think that's really fun, and that makes for an interesting element to the plot because it makes it difficult to figure out who might have vandalized Katie's boat and why, because everyone kind of isn't a huge fan of Katie and Katie's not really a huge fan of everyone else. It's also interesting to see everyone's different opinions on the orca and everything that they have. There's also a couple really cool phone characters besides Bess and George. There's Hilda Swenson, who is a phone character that Nancy communicates quite a bit with, and Casey Porterfield. Oh my gosh, she's an excellent phone friend. This game really does have some really great phone friends. And yeah, that's the cast of characters. I think for me, it's not one of my favorite casts of characters, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I don't have a great reason as to why it's not one of my favorite casts of characters. I think they have glimpses of subplots going on with the characters, like we talk about the orca and we talk about the tension between the characters, but we don't actually get to know any more about those particular characters and their personal histories. So maybe that's why I'm not as big a fan of these characters. I still think it's a really solid group of characters, so I really can't criticize it very much. I guess that's more of just a personal opinion for me. So I give the characters for Danger on Deception Island a 9 out of 10. Now moving on to setting and design, which considers where the mystery takes place, how that's incorporated into the game, and the background design, graphics, and character graphics as well. Danger on Deception Island is a beautiful game, and not in the traditional way. Like usually when you think, oh, beautiful game, you think sandy beaches and blue skies and everything, but Danger on Deception Island, it has sandy beaches, but it definitely doesn't have blue skies. It's very gray, it's very foggy, but that's perfect for the setting because they're right on the coast in Washington State. It's known for being a pretty rainy and foggy area. That's pretty common for that spot, and it also adds a really nice kind of eerie feeling to the game that you have all of this fog and then it's just so gray. It's kind of dingy feeling. The town itself is nice. It's not like old or dirty or anything, but it just feels ugh. It's just kind of like that ugh feeling, and it works really well for a mystery. It makes it a lot more mysterious. The whole Snake Horse Harbor, the rumors floating around, thinking about Cadborosaurus, their local sea monster. Is it real? Is it not? So they do a really nice job of making the setting perfect for where it's supposed to be in Washington State. Nancy does actually get to go in the water too. She goes kayaking on the water, and I love that she moves along the water in increments. So it's not like she just jumps from one location to another without us getting to see her move in the kayak. She does actually kayak places physically, and I love that. There's these really cool sea caves. The Hot Kettle Cafe is done really well. There's a really cool lighthouse, which is also another really great element to the setting. They do a really nice job with the character graphics. Each of them looks very unique. There's a few characters that we haven't really seen the aesthetic before, and I like that. I like that the characters are a little bit more unique. So overall, I think it's a really, really nice setting and design. I honestly think that the grayness is probably one of the game's best qualities, which is a weird thing to say because you'd think a more pretty environment would be more exciting or something, but no, I really think it's a beautiful setting and design because it is so gray and eerie, I suppose. So I give setting and design for Danger on Deception Island a 10 out of 10. Entertainment and gameplay value is our next category. This is definitely a fun game to play. I really think the most fun part of this game is that there are several locations that it takes Nancy a little while to find. There's like a secret beach and there's these secret tunnels, and finding those makes the game all the more exciting to play. It's a pretty mild game. It's not going to be very scary, but there's always this kind of eerie feeling throughout the game, which I think makes it a lot of fun to play. I think replaying the game is a lot of fun because once you have made it through the game one time, you kind of know where all of the characters stand and what all of them are going to do, so you can pick out little things in their conversations that you might not have noticed before. There's lots of really subtle things going on in the gameplay experience that really just makes it a very solid game to play. It is another one of those quicker games. Like, there are some pretty easy puzzles. There's actually very few puzzles in this game, and the ones that are there are pretty simple. It definitely relies more on the character interaction and the game exploration, which is totally fine. That usually means that there's a better plot if there's fewer puzzles. Usually, not always, but in this case, that does hold up. So the game is definitely fun. I do like that Nancy gets to go kayaking on the water. She goes biking from place to place, which is okay. It makes sense in this game. Exploring the lighthouse is a ton of fun. Overall, I'm quite happy with the entertainment and gameplay value. I don't think it's as exciting as other games, which is why I can't give it a perfect score, but it's still really, really good. So I give Danger on Deception Island a 9 out of 10 for entertainment and gameplay value. And finally, we go on to music and vibe. So the music for this game is really cool and really unique within the series. It's really kind of nautical. You got all of these boat sounds in some of the tracks. Like, there's one song called Siren Dirge, and there is actually a boat siren, like, dirging, I don't know if that's a verb, but in the song, and it really works for the environment. It really helps set the mood for the game and the atmosphere. The vibe of the game is pretty eerie and mysterious throughout, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, which is interesting. It's kind of cool that they were able to do that even though there isn't really anything super scary going on with the game. It's not a scary game by any means, but they still managed to make it feel eerie and unsettling for some reason. It also, the vibe at the end of the game, you get really excited. I mean, this game has probably the second best ending in the entire series, in my personal opinion. The first best ending being the final scene, but this one is really cool, and they do a nice job with the music and bringing up a new place to explore that really makes it very, very exciting. So I think the vibe is something that really impressed me in this game, so I give this category a 10 out of 10. So if we add up all of our scores, we have a 9 for plot, 9 for characters, 10 for setting and design, 9 for entertainment and gameplay value, and 10 for music and vibe, for a total score of 47 out of 50 and a final grade of an A-. If you were to ask me if you should play this game, I would definitely recommend it. It is probably in my top 10 or 15. It's just a solid game overall. The criticisms that I have for this game are very mild. They're very few and far between. I love the creepiness of the game, even though it's not a scary game. I love the character interaction. There are some pretty memorable characters. I think the plot is really nice. It's got an excellent ending. I would play this game even just for the ending. So you can definitely bank on having a good gameplay experience in that respect. You're going to have a really, really exciting and exhilarating ending that gets your adrenaline going. It's definitely a good game to play in the series. There's lots of nice cookies, and it does get referenced in later games. So within the series, it's definitely an excellent episode in our entire Nancy Drew series, and I would recommend it. Thank you so much for watching this review, fellow detectives. I hope to see you soon in some of my future walkthroughs and reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.